One of the scariest things a man can hear during his marriage is when his wife says, "I don't love you anymore." The moment those words leave her mouth, everything changes. Your mind immediately starts racing. Does she want a divorce? Does she want to separate? Is there somebody else? Are we over? How could she not love me? Yesterday, everything seemed normal. Things seemed fine. Maybe you guys were sitting on the couch watching Netflix. Maybe you were talking over dinner. Maybe it came completely out of nowhere. Because from your perspective, life seemed pretty normal. You get along well, you're great friends. Maybe you're still spending a lot of time together. Maybe you're still intimate. Sure, every marriage has arguments here and there, but for the most part, you thought you guys were okay. So naturally, you start to panic. You don't want to lose everything you've built together. She's your best friend. You love her. And now you're trying to make sense of something that completely makes absolutely no sense. And this is where so many men accidentally take the wrong approach. Because the moment they hear those words, they stop operating from understanding. And instead, they start operating from fear. Fear of losing their marriage. Fear of losing their family. Fear of losing the future they imagined together. And fear has a really funny way of causing us to react rather than making us curious. So what happens? Many men immediately become lawyers. They start presenting all the evidence. But we don't even fight that much. We just went on vacation. We spent a lot of time together. We're still having sex pretty often. The kids are happy. Look, we just had an amazing weekend. Because from his perspective, he thinks if he can just show her the evidence, she'll realize that she's wrong and she'll change her mind. But here's what most men completely miss. When a woman says, "I don't love you anymore," she's usually not making a logical conclusion. She's describing an emotional experience. And those are two very different things. And that's why facts and evidence rarely change how she's actually feeling. Because she's not asking you to solve an equation. She's trying to communicate an emotion. And one of the biggest misconceptions that most men make is assuming that when she says those words, that it means the relationship is already over. Ironically, this is actually one of the biggest opportunities you'll ever get. Because women don't usually just wake up one morning, roll over, and then announce that they don't love their husbands anymore. That sentence usually has been building for months, sometimes years. She's been noticing how she feels, wondering why she feels that way, and questioning whether or not things can actually improve, hoping something changes. And then eventually, she finally says it out loud. Which means for you guys that this conversation isn't usually the end. In many cases, it's her last attempt to try to get you to understand what she's been trying to communicate. I mean, think about it for a moment, what she's risking by actually saying those words out loud. She knows that this conversation is going to totally change the marriage. But why does she say it? Because she needs to. Because some part of her is feeling that maybe you'll finally understand what she's feeling. If your first instinct is to push back or to defend yourself or to get angry or to explain why she's wrong or convince her that she shouldn't feel that way, you'll probably push her further away. But if you genuinely become curious, if you slow down, ask questions, this conversation can actually become one of the most important conversations in your entire marriage. Because that's what she's hoping for. That's what she wants. She's hoping and wants to finally feel understood. Now, if you're really honest with yourself and you think back over the last few months, you'll probably remember little shifts. Maybe her smile didn't seem as genuine. Maybe it didn't seem as warm. Maybe she became less affectionate. Maybe she seemed emotionally distant. Maybe she stopped being open with you. Maybe it was obvious because maybe she started becoming a lot more angry. But honestly, in many marriages, the changes are incredibly subtle, which is why so many men miss them. But here's the thing, guys. The most important thing you can do when she tells you that she doesn't love you anymore is to acknowledge that this is genuinely how she feels. Not to argue with it, not to try to convince her otherwise. Just acknowledge it. So once you've acknowledged it, then what do you actually do? Chances are by the time you're watching this video, she's already said this to you. So wait until things are calm and then ask if the two of you can revisit the conversation. And when you sit down, ask her one simple question. Ask her, how long have you been feeling this way? Then listen, really listen. Don't interrupt. Don't defend yourself. Don't start explaining why you did certain things that you did. Just let her talk. Remember here, you're trying to understand her emotional experience, not win an argument. And then after she shares, ask another question. Ask her, what have you been needing from me that I didn't realize? And after she answers, don't immediately promise her that you'll change. Instead, go deeper. Ask her, what would that have looked like for you? Can you give me an example? Help me understand. One thing I've consistently noticed when I coach couples and when I coach men is that women don't need every single problem fixed or solved immediately. They first need to feel understood. And sometimes just giving someone the space to be able to discuss and openly communicate what they've actually been feeling creates connection a lot faster than trying to fix the problem in 5 minutes. Because the one pattern that I've repeatedly noticed is that many women feel a lot less in love over time as they continuously feel misunderstood. And it's not because they just woke up one day and stopped loving their husband. It's because over time they felt less emotionally connected. And that's a very different problem, because whether the relationship felt perfectly fine and normal to you doesn't change her emotional experience. And one thing that I've noticed is really hard for most men to understand is that relationships are not experienced the exact same way by both people who are living in it. They're experienced much differently. And that's why I've noticed that most men try to solve feelings. But women, they don't want their feelings solved. They want their feelings understood. Those aren't the same conversation. So when she shares, resist the urge to react. Resist the urge to defend yourself. Just simply listen. And then tell her that you're going to take some time to reflect on everything that she shared. And then honestly ask yourself, what choices have I been making that contributed to her feeling this way? And this is exactly where I often find the real problem, because many couples aren't intentionally hurting one another. They're simply loving each other differently. The way you naturally show love may not be the way that she naturally needs to receive it. So the way you naturally show love, what I call love jargon, may not actually be naturally filling her emotionally, which is what I call love lingo. And at the same time, the way she naturally shows love, her love jargon, might not be automatically filling your love lingo. And so then what happens is over time, both people start to feel emotionally unfulfilled and emotionally misunderstood, even though both people genuinely love each other. And a big misconception here that I think many men hear when she says, I don't love you anymore, is I think men translate that into believing that she stopped loving you. But very often what she's describing is actually much deeper, because what she's really saying is that I haven't felt loved for so long that I don't feel in love anymore. Those are two very completely different statements. Because when a woman consistently feels loved, she wants to love back. Not because she has to, because she wants to. Because being loved and feeling loved tends to create more love. When she feels emotionally seen, emotionally understood, emotionally safe, emotionally supported, emotionally valued, the connection naturally grows. But when she stops feeling love, she slowly stops feeling connected. And eventually, she actually starts to believe that she's fallen out of love. And that's why I actually see this conversation as one of your biggest opportunities, because she's finally telling you what she's actually experiencing. And now, you have the chance to understand it. And once you understand it, you finally know where you actually start rebuilding. So if your wife has told you that she doesn't love you anymore, don't automatically hear it's over. Instead, hear something inside this relationship hasn't been emotionally fulfilling for quite some time. Because like I said, those are two totally different conversations. And once you understand the difference, you can stop trying to convince her that she's wrong and instead trying to really understand what it is that she needs emotionally from you. And that's where you can actually really start making different choices to change the relationship dynamic. And if you're in the situation right now where you're really trying to understand why your wife doesn't feel like she's in love anymore, I invite you to apply for my Love Communication Reset program. Together, we'll uncover where the real disconnect is coming from, and you'll learn to identify your love jargon, how you naturally express love, if it's matching and resonating with her love lingo, and how to shift it if it's not, so you can ensure that you're loving your partner the way she needs to feel loved. I hope this video was helpful, guys. If so, definitely hit a like for me and subscribe to the channel for more videos like it. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and let's really focus on falling back in love.